Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Unleashed with Suzanne and Kim.
Hello, good morning,
Good
or good
morning.
evening, or good
Or
afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you're watching.
wherever you are, or whenever you are. Kim, I want to bring up something today because I was doing some research the other day for my Vibe Tribe material, and I came across some keywords that I was really pondering, and I want to bring them forward for anybody to maybe think about how sometimes we lump words together in descriptions and they really are quite different. And I was looking at the difference between the words self-awareness and self-realization, right? It's
Wow.
like those
Okay.
are big words that we don't really think about a whole lot. And when I was doing some work for the membership, like I said, I think it's really interesting. Most of us go outside of ourselves to figure out who and what we are. And when we're in a spiritual journey, hopefully we are learning the tactic of going inside of ourselves to figure out who and what we are, correct?
Mhm.
So self-awareness is kind of like outside and self-realization is kind of inside, but self-awareness is outside in a great way. So I want to explain this.
Okay.
When we're talking about self-awareness and becoming self-aware, especially in our journey here, it is basically the ability to observe one's self, right? I mean, I'm observing, and I do really a lot of work on this, staying neutral, staying the observer, looking at my life from a neutral point without really just getting into the kind of knee-jerk reaction or the habit or the whatever. So the more spiritual work I do, the more I am pushing myself to become the observer. So when we're talking about self-awareness, we're looking at ourselves from the outside. We're looking at our thoughts. We're looking at our emotions. We are aware of our self-ego and our personality layers. So we are looking at it from the outside. So for example, oh my God, I just walked into this room and I'm feeling really a sense of anger in here. Or, oh my goodness, I'm walking through this woods and I can feel sadness or whatever. So you are really finding a connection that is indeed outside of yourself, but you're doing the work from inside. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, I think how many times have we talked about when you go out in nature, and that connection you can have with nature, the outside of that, like it's outside, but you're inside and you're working with that,
Right, you're doing the work.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. You're
Then
doing
I'm
the
on the
work
same page.
from yeah, you're doing the work from the inside. So it's a really still a great skill set, but you are looking at it from the outside with almost observer neutrality. Okay. So it's it's understanding that I'm in charge of this or in command of this, but you're not necessarily in that mode of change quite yet. That's what comes next with the self-realization. Okay. So there is a little bit of a difference. So again, it's like self-awareness it can be considered our navigation system, how we move through life. Okay. It's how I think, how I feel, how I respond. And we can, when we get better at observing that, we can kind of like hone those skills.
Mhm. Right.
Gosh, I'm automatically responding in anger. What is wrong with that? Where's the belief behind that? I got to dig that out and figure that out because I'm always responding in anger. Or, oh my God, I fight or flight all the time. So these are things that we can start to see our limiting belief systems on when we are more self-aware. Does that make sense?
It does, actually, yes.
Okay.
I totally agree with that. When you're working with, you know, moving through beliefs and releasing things that no matter they don't work for you anymore.
And
Um,
on that note, on that exact note, this is why self-awareness is so important because this is what starts to protect our integrity, our own honesty, our own truth, our own sovereignty, because we want to work with boundaries to say, hey, that does not fit in Kim's skin. That no longer serves me. This is not something that makes me feel safe. I don't agree with that any longer, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of allows the body to speed up the spiritual growth by being present. Let's put it that way.
that's really cool, actually, the way that you put that. I
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense for me on the boundary piece. The boundaries were really hard to learn, though. Like
Gosh, right?
takes a lot of work. The
Well, and the more
neutral.
self-aware you are, Kim, the more you realize that the boundaries are wobbly because of the beliefs. I mean, the two B's line up with each other. If the boundaries are wobbly, it's because the beliefs are still in the way, and maybe the beliefs are what doesn't serve you any longer, right? I mean, so those two match.
Yeah, and I would think if you're looking for self-validation on the outside all the time, that's the boundaries aren't there, right? You're not creating those boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we're in stepping into more and more awareness, when we are stepping into it, we are noticing more things because we're more present. And this is when the body comes into more ethical action or more honest action or more like, I am so not doing that because I just am not. All those kind of things start to come out with actual noticing in the body. Oh my God, I'm sitting here listening to this and my entire nervous system is wanting to crawl out of my skin. Or, oh my God, I'm sitting here listening to this and my heart is filled with joy, so I know this is good. The humanness of the awareness level is so cool, right? Because the body, the vehicle itself, is really, really giving you physical as well as emotional and mental clarity. So we can find physical clarity by connecting to the meat and the bone, right? We
Hmm.
can find emotional clarity when we're in our heart space, but we can also, because of the fact that we're witnessing and observing, we can find mental clarity.
That's always the harder one, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
right? Because the physical, I know in my body, like I'll get that feeling in my stomach, like, oh, this doesn't, feel
Mm-hmm.
great. But when you get to mental, um, I can be really logical.
Yeah,
And because I've spent pretty much my whole life doing jobs, and just being a very logical person. And that is a little more difficult to get around because the logic it doesn't always make logical sense.
right.
So it's working through that part of it that would be really hard. That's a
But the
hard.
better that you are synergizing all of these fields, and remember, our actual auric fields are all of them. So I am
Mhm.
physical, I am emotional, I am mental and spiritual all at the same time. And I think the key is presence and awareness and curiosity, right?
Mhm.
Because you've changed a lot. I mean, I've known you a lot of years now, and you don't divert directly to your mental head as much anymore because you are training your physical form. So this is a process, and I think that these two words are indicative of the process. I think you start out in self-actualization as the mirror.
Mhm.
You can see things more clearly. My reflection is here. I'm starting to understand this is what I'm engaged with, and this is what I'm dealing with, and this is what I'm creating. It's all around me, right? But then self realization is the next step. So let's go into that one. So self realization is deeper. This is the next step in. This is the deeper recognition beyond the direct experience. Okay. So your focus is still the awareness of the self, but it's a bigger self. So, what I want to explain for that is the bigger self, meaning like the capital S, a higher self, the higher version of me. So, yes, I'm still Kim, but I'm the higher version or the higher self of Kim, the more soul related self, because your experiences are going to change now. So, I am not just my story. I am not just a mom and a wife and a da 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 da. I am all of these things and so much more because my purpose is so much bigger when I get into self realization. I am liberating myself and moving beyond the generic story. And this is when the real spiritual work is really in the midst of it because it's hard to let go of our story. I mean, you did that years ago when leaving a job. You know how hard that was,
It was so
right?
hard. Yeah, because I didn't know who I was without the job. I really didn't.
Because it was ego.
Yeah.
And we are tied into our ego, which we are supposed to be. Don't get me wrong. The 3D ego is very important to have the individualized experience in our incarnation. That's part of the deal.
Mhm.
But when we grow through and appreciate the ego in a different way, what we're doing is we're jumping from ego to essence. Okay.
Oh,
So my
yes.
soul essence is different than my soul ego. All right.
Right.
So if we were saying earlier that the mirror is the awareness, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm aware of what I'm creating, what I'm doing, right? So now the self-realization is actually stepping through the mirror,
Okay.
into the mirror,
All
okay?
right.
It's
Let's do that one
recognizing,
again. So do that one more time.
meaning the first one is I'm looking in the mirror, this is what my world is, right?
Yep. And it's
And
around you.
now,
Like it's
right
not all just
now,
okay.
I'm going to step in and through the mirror because I'm realizing that I'm co-creating this mirror. I'm the one that's actually creating the reflection. I can change that reflection. Whereas the first one has limitation. This is deeper. It's recognizing my true nature, my true self, my union with my higher self. And maybe as I grow in my spirituality, I'm realizing, oh, there's a lot of falsity here because of these belief systems. I can dump that. Do you see how it gets bigger?
It does. Yeah. I
Right?
the stepping through the mirror thing had me for a second because and then I was like, it's kind of like it makes sense because you're not looking for everything outside of, you're in
Yes.
it and you're creating what it is. Okay.
And you can literally use the words I am it, which is moving you closer to source energy of the I am,
Okay.
right? This
Okay.
takes all my limits away because now I'm starting to realize that I've arrived. This is my creation. This is it. It's not just a reflection. I'm the one that's in charge of this, right?
It takes the victimization away.
It
It
takes a lot away.
also it makes you a little vulnerable, but that feeling of taking ownership of that it empowers you in a way, wouldn't
Yep.
it? Like it's okay.
Self-realization is knowing yourself in a bigger way. So we move from that egoic of what I present, gosh, I'm worried they're not going to like me. Oh my lordy, I just got to say the right things. I can't speak up. All that crap goes away because
Right.
it's just knowing yourself as a pure consciousness. And when we really get good at pure consciousness, we start to remember oneness, and that's when it really, really starts to change. Okay.
Hmm.
But I really want to go back for a second and unleash it a little bit more that they are important in a relationship to each other. Self-awareness is an entry point of growth. And a lot of people are walking around this planet, and this isn't judgment, but a lot of people are walking around not even self-aware, not even realizing that I am here for a reason. And I can't tell you how many people walk into my office and say, I don't even, I'm like, well, why did you come to the planet? Why are you here? Other than a sperm and an egg created the actual container, but you dropped in. Why do you think you're here? And people look at me like, I don't know. I never thought of that. And that astounds me because I was questioning this stuff at 5 and 6 years old. And I'm not saying I'm better or cooler. I'm just saying it's still to this day, all these years later, astounds me that people don't understand that they are living on autopilot, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because you say 5 or 6 years old. I don't think I was questioning that as much, but periodically there were times in my growth that's like, why are we here? Like
Right?
what is this all about? Because it doesn't feel great and it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't feel right for me.
Well, and
And
I hope every human comes to that conversation sometimes, but there are
yeah,
many, many, and again, no judgment, but there are many on this planet that don't even entertain that thought. And that astounds me. Like I said, it's just crazy,
yeah.
right?
Asking it as an adult in my 50s was a whole different ballgame because
Exactly. Because when you're 50 and you're asking it, now I'm going to see, oh my God, well, I am now self-aware of not only there's things I don't have any idea, but what comes forward immediately is all my triggers, all my wounds, all my beliefs, all my everything. And then comes the holy crap, what do I do with that? And now self-responsibility starts to step in, right?
well, and there are things that came up that I was not self-aware with at all that came
Right,
through a lot of those things I was not self-aware of because it
right.
was programming, it was beliefs that were just instilled, plus it's like your lineage stuff,
Well,
that
and into that comment, it is not just your lineage, but it's your immediate family also. How much were we empowered? How much
right.
were we encouraged to think about being an individual, or was I basically chattel for my parents? A lot of humans raise their kids as they own them, which always cracked me up too because I always had this really, I thought I was a horrible parent because I was really aware, self-aware, really early with my children that these are not mine. They're just souls on borrowed time. And
Mhm.
I thought I was the worst parent ever. And I understood that that was a relationship from a soul's perspective that came in a tiny body that I was responsible for to an extent, but I don't get to change their journey, right?
Right.
So I always thought I was a horrible parent, and now it's really great to have that freedom to say, yeah, I never had any power over you anyway. I had influence,
Hmm.
right? But not power.
Yeah.
So
No, I
it's
thought I had power and influence, all of it. I was
yeah,
in control from
yeah.
the time. It
Well, I
was,
mean, I was a control freak in there too, don't get me wrong, but I
yeah.
mean, I wasn't this lovely, wonderful parent. But this way of thinking creates healthier relationships because we notice, how our energy affects somebody else, how our beliefs affect somebody else, etc.
Yeah.
So when we finally come to the remembering of this stuff of self-awareness, we sort of find different boundaries, right? Like we were
Right.
talking.
Right.
So then when we go into, if that's, the actual entry point of our spiritual journey, when we get to the self-realization, it's that liberation point. So this is when the freedom comes. That's why it's an evolution. We can't get to realization until we do awareness, right?
Hmm. That makes sense.
So the
Hmm.
awareness is that entry point. And now when we're self-realizing, we're like, oh, this is just dissolving all of the illusion, all the crap, all of the, oh gosh, I'm way much more than my body or my personality or my hair or my size. It gets rid of all of those things where we're so competitive, especially females, we're not the right size, I'm not big enough, I'm not small enough, I don't wear the right clothes, blah, blah. And so all that stuff goes away when we start to understand that we're connecting with a deeper sense of who we are, our freedom, our peace, our sovereignty, our wisdom, all of that stuff. And that takes time. I mean, we don't become self-aware, much less self-realized or actualized until sadly, until we've got some tread under our feet, right? I mean, it's years. It's
Yeah. And I think it's a continuous it's continuous work
oh,
because
yeah,
you're working on you're self-aware about something about yourself and you find a belief, you find something that is, behind that, and you start to move into this self-realization of, yeah, that's not me anymore for
yeah,
that. And whatever. And then all of a sudden there's another one that pops up and you're like back at self-awareness going, oh, wow,
yeah.
like I didn't even see that before. And it's part of the growth, I believe, because you're continually changing your I am. You're
Yep.
getting stronger and stronger in your I am, so those things will bubble up. I don't know if
And
that's
this can be really like ooh kind of things, but it also can be really tangible, silly little things. And
yeah.
as we're talking, I'm remembering years ago when I was corporate, we always went down to Atlanta, all the women, and we would go to this fantastic shoe store that was kind of like this little in this old shabby looking warehouse area. It was like a gold mine nobody knew about unless you had the inside scoop. And we would go in there and these ladies would, have these unbelievably beautiful, gorgeous shoes for super cheap. And we'd end up buying, 5 and 6 pairs each and ship them all home because they were crazy cool, really unique, awesome shoes. And back then, of course, the heels were this big. And I
Okay.
remember a day when we all went out to a restaurant. We all had our really cool Atlanta shoes on. People were just, especially, but men too, but women, oh my God, you ladies, your shoes, and you're like, I know, right? And then I hit a point, and not that this is relative, but it is. I hit a point in my life where it was like the realization is I was now doing this work, and I didn't have anywhere to wear a shoe. I wasn't going to wear the shoe anyway because it never was comfortable anyhow. And I was wobbling on the shoe. And the day that I released all those shoes was such a piece of my old ego. And I know this is really stretching the story, but it was so funny to me that I had this giant pile of these wicked, hot, gorgeous, beautiful, really great shaped shoes. And I just didn't need them anymore. There wasn't anything about me that was that.
Yeah.
I was really
Yeah.
more concerned about finding my essence, finding my soul, finding my work. And I'm not knocking anybody that still wants to wear cool shoes, but for me, that was a really big egoic turning point of letting go of things that were maybe more materialistic. And I actualized and realized I am like, oh my God, I really never was comfortable in these anyway. I was just playing the
Yeah.
part.
Right. I
Right?
remember when you did that actually. And
Yeah,
it
and
was,
I did a big ceremony and I gifted them off to Goodwill. And I
yeah.
know some woman in Goodwill just lost her mind because there was like a lot of really good shoes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of the liberation point. It connects you with the deeper sense of why you're here. It changes how you move through the world. I mean, I wanted to move through the world with bare feet and comfortable so that I can feel the actual planet. I didn't want to and again, I'm not judging anybody. That's not what I'm saying. It was just a funny example of how you can find the difference of what's important, right?
Well, and I think everybody has their own thing. Like for me, it was loading up my SUV full of work clothes,
Yeah, yeah,
suits, and all the things, shoes, purses, all the things that
right.
I wear for work. And my husband looked at me, he's like, "You're never going back, are you?" And I'm like, "Nope, I'm done.
Nope.
I
Right.
am done."
And this is a process of stepping through a growth period of life. And I think it's really fun to see that you work together through these things. You just don't jump into the realization because you have to have the awareness first.
Oh, it took me a while to get to the I am piece of I am no longer a corporate, you know,
Right.
pet like a chess piece. I'm not that anymore.
And it's hard because when you're doing that looking in the mirror, this is when it can get scary. So the self-awareness part is a little bit more difficult in that you're going, well, crap, if I'm not that corporate person anymore,
Mhm.
who am I? And a lot of us women hit that when our children move away and
Yeah.
we're in that empty nest syndrome. And this is why marriages suffer also because no one's doing the work of their self-awareness throughout the whole process. We put a lot of things on the back burner, and that's what's dangerous because the ego itself, it resists being exposed. We want to stay hidden. We want it perfect. We want to be that thing. I have my story. I have my narrative. And all of a sudden, if that rug gets pulled out, who the hell am I? That gets scary, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And our
I'll tell you how
culture
scary.
also supports, oh my God, what do you do? And if
Oh,
you say, I'm a corporate executive that I do this and this and this, that's my story. Or if you say, I stay home and work on my soul, it's a little bit weird, right?
it was really difficult because it was my surrounding, friends, family, everyone. It was a lot of what are you going to do next?
Uh-huh.
Well, you're not just going to stay home. Like that's not you. I'm like, how do you know who I am?
Well, you
Really?
don't even know who you am
I
until you
don't
do
even know
it.
who I am. How do you know
Yep.
who I am? It was really challenging and it
And
was
it takes a while. I remember
yeah.
mine was a good 18 months before I didn't realize I had a V and a P behind my business card name and I didn't have people. I'm like, I am my people. That was very hard for me. And there was a really big death of an ego thing of, oh, no one's picking me up at the airport with my name on a card. It's really, you go through these really strange little deaths of this was all fake anyway, but it sure was fun, or this was all fake anyway and it sure wasn't fun. So these are things that our brain can't get around at the very beginning, and it takes time and it takes patience, but it takes presence of
Yes.
being self-aware again, right? That this does not fit in my body anymore, or my shoes are really uncomfortable and I'm admitting it. So this is important work if we choose to look at it that way.
Yeah, it's really important. And it's
Yeah.
so uh calm and I don't want to say the rewarding isn't it. It's just a way of being that is a better place for me to be, going through
Well,
it.
you moved from a human doing machine into a human being machine,
Yeah, right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these things of it's so funny because when the original awareness, we're like, who am I and what am I doing here? And then we create a narrative and a story that feeds that,
Mhm.
right? When we
Mhm.
let that go, then we go through the process of, but if I'm not doing that any longer, who and what am I? So we're doing like two layers of it, and it's always super funny because everything feels scary and threatening, but the reality is you're creating it all anyway. So who
Yeah.
cares?
Right.
Right?
It is. I had never looked at it this way before between, the process. Like when you said the
Mhm.
process, it's an ongoing process. And
Yeah, and you can go through many layers of this. Don't forget, because let's
yeah.
even admit, especially in the word of spirituality, you can become a spiritual person and turn right back into the human doing machine, meaning, oh, now I have to meditate, I have to do yoga, I have to do podcasts, I have to. You can do the same dang thing. So be aware that this is an ongoing kind of peeling the onion layers like everything else, right? I mean, it's just super important.
I'm in it right now. I'm totally in it right now of going through like another stage of who am I?
Okay, and
Because
explain that.
it's oh gosh, it's it's for me right now. I was I felt like I was in a good place spiritually, going through my journey, and I don't know why or what the triggers were, but I've hit a spot of, yeah, this doesn't feel like me right now. This doesn't feel like it. I'm evolving into something else, and I am fighting it a little bit. Why am I fighting it? What is holding me back from moving forward into the next like thing? And it's going back into self-awareness.
It is because self-awareness challenges your comfort zone. So when we're in self-awareness and we move through all that stuff and we hit realization, but then you're having the next wave of going deeper and higher, it literally does flip back to re-challenge new comfort zones and limitations and belief systems that still have not been cleared that are now needed because they're no longer for your highest and best. So it's an evolution. It doesn't just stop one time and we're all realized, like you said. So actually, by being uncomfortable again, that's a really good indicator that you're getting somewhere.
Well, and it is because it's affecting, my emotions and health and different, I can feel it in my body.
But
Uh,
it's affecting your identity in really great ways, Kim, because you are going deeper in commanding your body to do more deep healing. And that's a huge step forward, even though it feels like a step backwards. So when you get to awareness and then realization, and you have the courage and you're getting nudged by spirit to go even deeper, you have to actually go backwards to awareness again because you're going to another level of now I'm into my meat and bone body. I'm into my cell structure. I'm into the depths of what I've created as not just my story anymore, but my vehicle,
right,
right?
right. There's because my vehicle's been a protective vehicle for me, and it's discovering why that
Right.
is.
Which
That's
is
part of
now
it.
going to show you your belief patterns and your actual habitual things that have limited you that you weren't even aware of with the first round.
Yeah.
So it is really movement forward, but it feels like stagnation. So it's really great that you admitted that for listeners because we're all going to have those levels. That literally is the journey. The journey's never done, let's put it that way, right?
No, no, never done. And but this is I love how you laid this out in a way that I am. I'm back in self-awareness for many things, and I'm getting the nudges, I'm getting the signs and all the things to, tackle this or change my perspective
Mhm.
on what this is and really dig in and go deeper because I was surface healing before.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it differently, but it was like, looking at symptoms versus really looking diving,
At,
diving deep.
at the root cause.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, when we're in and when we're aware, we're aware it's not the root cause. Now, when we're in realization, we're like, oh crap, I co-created that root. So I
Yes.
can uncreate that or recreate that. So that's the process. So
Yeah.
some of the things that can ease you into that process, you're doing some of these, but I'll just point them out. It's always about stillness. It's always about meditative thoughts, or, it's not, I don't have to meditate. You come to this place where it's more like, no, it is like almost crucial that I schedule in my quiet time so that I can I can actually feel my body. I can actually listen to my body. So that quietness, that stillness is really, really important. The next step you're doing a lot more of also, as am I, is who am I really now? Who am I on that soul level? I'm dumping the story, the false identity, the ego identity, but what is the purpose of this deeper awareness of who am I truly? Not my emotions, not my job, not my story. That's all gone. But gosh, what is this vehicle? And
Right.
the vehicle itself, the actual meat and bone and body and organs, is so astounding when we get to this realization because it is consciousness containers. Every single piece of us is a consciousness container. So, for example, you deal with a lot of thyroid things. That thyroid in itself is a consciousness vehicle, which is then collaborative with all the other organs in your body, which is collaborative with your whole essence, etc. So, patterns within patterns within patterns, we're finding how much we are all one. And so when I understand my cells are my organs, are my essence, are my fields, then I can start to understand I also am my daughter or my neighbor or my great grandmother. Oh, or I also am the person around the globe. It starts to put you into this mind frame of really big stuff. So the deeper healing you do, the more infinite you become. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. It, it's becoming more, I'm getting more clarity
Hmm.
around, why. I mean, it's been a summer filled with working with you,
Hmm.
filled with a lot of change and with, trying to understand some of my health issues, but and what my body is trying to do, but
Hmm.
also um, reevaluating the habits that I'm in and looking at influences from others around me
Yeah.
and it's going through all of it.
And family and lineage and social and social media and media. I mean, we're absolutely programmed and controlled in a lot of our knee-jerk reactions. So that's why nature is so important. And you do a lot of work up north.
Mhm.
This larger field of unconditional love, I encourage and invite my customers and clients all the time. If you're having a hard time with self-love and or love with other relationships, go start to learn the concept of loving a tree or the wind because there's nothing conditional about that. And it can be really healthy to learn that that is a thing. So, surrendering that I have to go and meditate every day for 20 minutes versus I'm just going to sit for a second and stare at a tree and learn something from the leaf in the wind. Those kinds of things can be really, really advantageous to the time that you're in right now.
Yeah, and I noticed my breathing had changed. My breathing was not as deep. My
Yeah.
breathing was very shallow. My breathing was um like it just isn't reaching my whole body. Like
And that is your indicator. Your body, your vehicle is your classroom. And so noticing those sensations. I am not breathing as well. My neck is tense.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here and watching this TV right now, and I am literally jaw tight and I'm grinding. These are the indicators that are beautiful parts of our body, and we ignore all of those signs until we become A, aware, and then B, realized. And so these are really things that we want to do. You also do a great step in journaling. You are really great about writing things down. You write everything down. It makes me giggle because even when we do this, you write. You write,
I'm
write, write. That
seriously, I'm taking
yeah,
notes
I know,
of
right?
it. Like,
Right, right, right. So that's, people that do that, they can go back and see patterns. They can see their triggers. They can see what showed up that got the rug pulled out, etc. And then you can take that next step if you choose to say, now I can name it. I can see the pattern. So I can name that that is anger or that is lineage or that comes from my grandfather who gave it to my father who gave it to me. Those are things that you can find by doing those daily practices. And then also reaching out. You can also even say, hey, mom, did you ever notice that dad does this? And now I learned that. You can even reach out to family and friends and trusted others that can actually reflect things back to you that you're sort of blind to. I mean,
right.
that
Yeah.
happens. That
Well,
happens to
and
me.
back to the journaling was becoming kind of tough for me because my mindset and what I was doing to myself, not opening enough to allow some of the words to come through like they should. And so I knew there's a lot going on there because usually it flows pretty well for me. And it
Ah,
was
okay.
not flowing like it normally would, no
Yeah.
matter what I was trying. It was like, yeah, you're not in the right place right now. What is that? Like, why am I not in that right place? And
And can you share with how you got to a place with that's okay that I'm not in the right place right now instead of shaming?
yeah, at first I was shaming, and then I really took that step back, and I felt and I heard in myself that just take a break.
Yeah,
And basically that break was you were not even noticing what's around you right now. You're
right,
not enjoying like the small things that are around you right now.
right.
Like that's what came out of that message for me. So I put the journal away for a few weeks and just really worked on being outside
Mhm.
as much as I can, getting the sunshine, feeling the air, the trees, the grass beneath my feet, enjoying my family more. When I'm working really hard to be more in the moment instead of
Mhm.
thinking about all the things that come with that, like what are we having for dinner tonight? No, who cares?
Yeah,
We'll figure it out. It's fine.
yeah.
Adults, we've got it. Just enjoy the moment right now. You're sitting by the water and you've got your feet in the water. Enjoy the feel of that right now.
Okay,
Just
so let me show you how you jump between the two things right in that sentence or that scenario.
yeah,
The self-awareness is I'm seeing that you are saying, let's do this and this and this, is which is I'm seeing the pattern. I'm being clear and seeing and observing, oh my God, we're doing this pattern, we're doing this pattern. So that is the self-awareness.
yeah,
And on the heels of that, this is why these are important to buddy up. On the heels of that, you chose to step in with a higher version of yourself that says, no, it's important for my body right now to go stick my feet in the water.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you switched from the awareness into the actualization, or the actual realization of, I'm realizing I can change this, I can be present right now. So you're making the conscious awareness. That's why these work together. And that's a really great example of how you can do it in 2.5 seconds and change your life, right?
Oh my gosh. And the calmness that comes through when you
Right.
move from the awareness to the realization and you're just in the moment is like, oh, my breathing changed.
It's like,
My
oh.
gerbil mind slowed way down, everything felt just so much better.
And
Because
that's why the body is so important, because if I'm not connected to the presence of my body, I'm not going to realize that I just got my mood swung, or your comment just really affected me. So my boundary was gone. And
right.
all of those things are the actual being aware of my boundary, my body, my physicality, my everything. And then the realization is, oh, I am able to change this completely, right? I can do something with this, and I am going to have that action because I'm choosing, and that's that self-responsibility. So it's a really amazing thing when you break it down and realize that you can do this in super easy ways all day long,
Yeah.
or I'm walking around like a robot.
Right. Right. And not giving it the time, just ignoring the signs, ignoring the nudges,
Yep.
you know, they're there as long as you're willing to take it
And I
in.
think patience is really, really important, and understanding this as a cyclical or a cycle thing, or a pattern within a pattern, like you brought up. So I really am appreciative of you allowing yourself to share that, to say, I thought I was at this great space and now it's like starting all over again. Well, it isn't. It's starting over higher and deeper. And that's really cool, because you cleaned your window once, or your mirror once, and now you're like, oh, okay, now I'm preferring to shine even brighter on this planet, so I am really going to deep clean. It's like surface cleaning your house or deep cleaning. So,
Yeah,
and
no,
you
it
know how it feels when you deep clean your house versus surface clean. You
feels
sit in your house,
so good.
right?
I know. But then you procrastinate it. And it's like, why did I do that? It didn't take that long and it feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because God forbid you're a human, right?
Oh, that's right. I
Oh,
forget.
that's right. All right. Well, that was kind of fun. I mean,
It
isn't it
was.
interesting how it's the stepping stone? So.
Oh my God, this is really good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
give you a lot to think about, because you're doing it. You're a perfect example of this today.
I know. This is like a mini session for me. I
Yeah,
appreciate
right.
it.
Oh, that's great. All right. So on behalf of Kim and I, take what resonates, toss what doesn't. Maybe hit the subscribe and share button and give us a like. We'll talk to
Yeah.
you next time. Cosmic Hugs.
Goodbye.